Welcome to another edition of the Business and Personal Podcast, where we bring you closer to the people you do business with. And today we're thrilled to be joined by Brent Yax. He's the CEO of Awcom. They're based out of Troy here and strategic IT partner. So basically, they take all those challenging technology issues off the business's plate and they take that stress away for you. You know, we always have to advance with technology. Sometimes it can be stressful and daunting, and Brent's team comes in and makes that process simpler for everybody. So first of all, Brent, thanks for joining us today out of your busy schedule.
Appreciate you having me on, Ryan. Thank you.
So it's a business and the personal podcast. So just tell people a little bit about yourself and how you ended up at Awcom.
Sure. So born and raised in Michigan. I've been here kind of my whole life, from the east side to the west side, a little bit north. Ended up doing engineering at Western Michigan and moving into a consulting role in kind of the technology field. And that really, led me to understand a few things about me. One of which is that I have sort of an entrepreneurial spirit, and I really do want to own and create an entity and build it. So that moved me over into, starting something on my own. And, fast forward 25 years and we're still here with Awcom. So it's been quite an adventure, quite a ride.
And technology changes quite a bit over time. So I'm sure you've seen a lot of advancements over the last 25 years, right?
Yeah, so we started in 99, and not to age myself, but we were having the battles of like the Y2K fixes and make sure that the systems don't all crash when it turns the year 2000. So just from really that kind of a launch point into looking today and how AI is just revolutionizing a number of industries. It's quite a crazy, wild path. But it changes pretty quick, but business does too. So.
Yeah, it felt like what everybody feared Y2K was going to be. It felt like that a few weeks ago when we had that global IT outage. It just shows how important our systems are and how important it is to have backups to make sure, everything runs smoothly. But we don't have 5 hours to talk about everything that you do here. We have 10 to 15 minutes. So just as simply as possible, let those business owners out there know exactly what you do to kind of help them out.
Sure. So, IT is a pretty complex thing nowadays. You used to be able to have kind of an IT person and they would, handle 99% of what a company needs from a technology standpoint. And it's just not the reality anymore. When you look at cyber activity, like you mentioned with that outage a couple of weeks ago, you look at AI and where it's going, you look at how technology impacts culture, you look at everyone working remotely. There's just so many different facets of technology that now. So we put together kind of a team that really can help tackle all of the very big, large challenges companies typically run into, so that we can be kind of that external IT agent for them, really a replacement for an IT department, or a lot of people already outsource. So really we would just be another outsourced tool that they could leverage to get IT working correctly, within the business. And it doesn't have to be a hard thing. It doesn't have to be challenging. It doesn't have to be daunting or scary. People don't have to hate it. It can actually be enjoyable, fun, and help businesses, improve and have a better impact and better bottom line.
Well, that's exactly it. What is enjoyable for any business is a better bottom line. So just give me kind of a couple of examples of how your services can help that bottom line.
Yeah, so there's, a lot of things that really impact that. Culture is one, employee engagement, how well they're working with each other, with the organization, how well they're aligned to the company, how, productive they are at the things that they do. So all of those things can be addressed through different types of technology, or at least the way that technology is deployed within an organization, how people are trained, how well they're using it, how well they know it. All of those things have a direct impact on bottom line. But also when you look at product development, going forward from we're 2024, so 25, 26, 27, a lot of it is really digitally based. It's how can I leverage the information that I have in the organization to either build a better product set or, work better with our clients to add more value. So there's a lot of, revenue tools, that can be implemented to increase kind of either product or value of product for your price. And then you get into just straightforward automation. There's a ton that can be automated now, and a lot of businesses are leveraging that so that as they grow and expand, they don't have to hire as often or as frequent. So maybe instead of hiring 10 people, I can grow and hire 3, or maybe I can double my size, but not double the amount of people I have. Well, those are almost always directly to the bottom line. So there's a number of ways technology can be leveraged, I think, effectively, that really should be a part of kind of that long-term strategy for a company.
And you already kind of touched on it a little bit, but one of the things I definitely wanted to talk to you about is the remote work. And any business that doesn't have remote employees now, it's probably just a matter of time. It's coming for most businesses that that's going to be a thing. So that's a whole new layer of IT services, security, and whatnot. So what are some things you're seeing there that you help businesses with in that regard?
Well, you're right. I mean, it's definitely huge. The vast majority of our clients are mobile, at least, 10, 20, 30%. We're mobile about 75%, to be honest. And you kind of got to adopt the mindset of mobile first now. It's no longer, well, let's set up everything internally to the organization. And when you're outside, it's awkward, it's hard, it's difficult. That just doesn't really work now. You have to make it so that wherever you are, you can operate the same as if you were in the corporate location. But what we're seeing is people are kind of limping into it and maybe having their equipment and their laptops and their workstations, everything in the office, and allowing people to go home and use their own machines. Well, that opens a ton of security vulnerabilities for the company. You really can't do that. You really need to equip people with mobile workstations. Let them have a laptop that sits in the office, works fine, sits at home and work fine. And that way you can protect them. You can make it a closed environment. You can make sure things are encrypted and secure. You don't let other people get into the network that shouldn't be there. And the other thing that we're seeing is that you lose some empathy when you're not sitting next to somebody talking. So you can sit in a meeting or at the water cooler, like they say, and you build relationships with people that you're working with. And then when you cut that out and you work remotely, empathy goes away. So that impacts culture generally negatively. So how do you create more opportunities for people to be face to face, to work together, to see together, to share stories, to have personal, relationships that develop? Not that everyone has to hang out and be friends with each other, but when you're in the office, you do create relationships, and you have to figure out how to do that in a remote environment as well, so that you can maintain a positive culture.
Yeah, that's some interesting insight there. When you think IT company, you just think working on the nuts and bolts and making sure everything's working right. But you look at the human side of it as well.
Yeah, I mean, the reality of it is that the technology is only there to help the business and the people within the business to accomplish something and do their jobs, right? If that wasn't there, there would be no need for the technology. So it's always secondary. So you have to approach it that way. You shouldn't really be forcing technology in for any reason. You should be understanding business needs, people needs, and then try to backfill with the right solution for that. But it is always people and business first. It's it's got to be.
What's kind of your overall message to businesses out there that are slow to adapt to a new system or new technology that clearly would help the bottom line, would just help all the operations run smoother, but they just don't want to deal with the change like that and all that it goes through? How would you explain to them, how quickly you can adapt that and how to make it easier?
What we found, and we deal with a lot of change. So we have a lot of clients and they're always improving something, adding something, getting something new, doing something different, right? So there's a lot of change. And what we've seen over the years is that when there's hesitancy to adopt something new, it's usually because the value equation hasn't been made correctly. People don't understand what's in it for them, what's in it for me. Why do I have to go through this hoops? Why do I have to change? Why do I have to do something different? How does that help the business? Those questions haven't been answered successfully. So you really have to dig into the why. Why are we doing this? Why is it important? Why does it materially make a difference for everybody? And sell that why. And once you can kind of sell the why as to what we're doing, now you have to understand the identity of all the people in the organization. Because if I'm going to change a system that you think is a part of your identity and the value you offer to the business, you're going to resent that and want to stop it. You're going to resist it. So you need to educate now. This is why it's good for you. This is what it's going to help you do. This is how it's helping your role. This is why you're creating more value now. And when you can do those things well, the change resistance goes away because everybody knows that the end of this is something better for us all. And that's really what you have to accomplish.
Yeah, just like a lot of things, when the pain of continuing to do it the way you're doing it exceeds the pain of going through the change, well, then that's when the change becomes a lot easier, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, we're sitting here August of 2024. If we record this a new one in August of 2025, you're probably going to have new things that have come out already in the next year, changes and whatnot. How in the world do you stay on top of all this that's constantly changing, seemingly daily?
You know, luckily, although there's a lot that comes out, there's not a lot that sticks, right? So there are a ton of new apps and a ton of new AI initiatives and a ton of new systems and software updates. But you have to look at that. You have to understand what's out there. You have to try to figure out how it's applicable. You have to try to figure out why this makes a difference to business. And at the end of the day, most of it drops off as just noise. So the trick is really, how do you find the valuable things that are buried within all of that noise? But it's really just a process of, keeping your eyes open, going to shows, going to conferences, leaning into some of the experts out there, the Gartners, the Forresters, the McKinseys, all these consulting agencies that try to forecast how these can be used in business and rate them. And then you test them, you try them, you get them into customers, you see if it's working or not, and you make decisions that way. But it's just a constant fire hose of things that you kind of got to weed through, but really only a few gems that you pick out and you really need to use.
Yeah, we get inundated with all these different opportunities and options. You get emails about, hey, make this change or make that change. And it's hard for us to filter all that out. So that's the value of you come in, you filter all that out. And yeah, you're right. At the end of the day, there's the core things that are always going to be good for a long time. Maybe every once in a while, something new will come along that you adapt.
Yeah, I agree. And right now, that conversation is AI. There's a ton going on in that space. The generative AI, like the chat GPTs and some of the image generation, video generation, they're really moving. They're advancing as fast as you can imagine. And there's a lot of opportunity there for business, a lot of cost savings, a lot of tools for marketing and sales teams. It's exciting right now. So that's kind of where the focus is today. And also cybersecurity. How do you protect yourself? Because that's growing exponentially, the threat out there. So.
Yeah, I think AI is a perfect example of that. Don't you believe at the end of the day, we still need human beings to make processes work. That a little bit of AI here and there certainly will help, but at the end of the day, it's people that make things go, right?
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, there's just intangible things that people offer that we are far from displacing. We are far from being able to replicate. And there's just the ability to take. So one of the disadvantages of AI is that it's also segmented and it's all over, and you can do one thing here and one thing here and one thing here, and you plug them together and try to make it work. Well, who's the one who has the big view of all of that to actually put together the strategy, right? It's still us. It's still people. It's still us thinking through, how these things have to work together and what we can do. But right now, it's a great tool to save us time. So if I have 40 things on my plate and I can make it 30, that's fantastic. And now I can do 10 things that are more important. And that's really where it's being leveraged right now.
Absolutely. Well, your field never fails to be interesting, that's for sure. But I always like to close with a success story. So I'm going to put you on the spot here. I know you've helped a lot of people over the years, but is there one that maybe stands out like, yeah, that one was really cool?
There's a few. It's still pretty close. I know this is, we're a few years past the big, the pandemic, and I know it's kind of old news now, but, we have this philosophy in providing IT services that are, how do we create protection for the future? What do we need to do with our client base to make sure that they can weather storms that could present themselves, or at least they're in a position where if there's things out of their control, they have the ability to kind of turn. And so we adopted this mobile first mentality in 2018. And we moved 99% of our clients to a 100% mobile, meaning that every one of them could operate anywhere at any time for any reason. And flash forward a year and a half, 2 years, right, we were hit with that pandemic. And the amount of feedback from our clients on, just thank you for being forward thinking and putting us in the position where we were mobile first, because not one of our clients had to stop or slow down whatsoever through the entire process. So it really made us feel good. We felt like you were doing it for the right reasons. We felt like we accomplished something, and we still talk with our clients about that almost every day on the impact that had on their business, because they were able to get aggressive and grow and do things during that time frame.
Yeah, as bad as that was, there were some good things like that that came out of it and caused people to operate in a more efficient way. So that's an awesome story there. But anybody that's still listening here, Brent, is certainly interested in what you do and working with you. So what's the best way for them to get a hold of you to learn more?
Yeah, so just hit us up on our website at awecomm.com. That's awcom.com, or shoot us a message at hello@awcom.com. You can even shoot me a message at byax@awcom.com. We're always there, always able to help.
And you also have an event coming up here shortly. So you still have some spots for that. So here's your chance to plug that.
Yes, thank you. We do. We have a business conference coming up on September 27th, really geared at the executive suite, the C-suite, on understanding what's out there, because there's so much, like you said earlier, that is changing and so many new things that are coming out. Sometimes it's hard as business leaders to understand where I should invest time. So we're trying to close that gap. We have some great keynotes. We have some great breakout sessions. We have networking with peers, Expo Center. We're just trying to give you all the information. So as a leader, you can say, okay, here are certain areas that I think are smart for our business to focus on over the next couple of years in the world of technology. And it's a non-tech, high-level executive type forum, and we think it's going to be a great show.
Fantastic, Brent. Well, again, awesome info. Great job, 25 years. Hopefully you got 25 more and then some ahead of you here. But thanks again for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, Ryan. I really appreciate it.